How's it going, everybody? This is Josh, and this is your weekend inspiration. And as you can see, I still have a little bandage picking up the background, kind of cool, on my finger. It is better. I didn't cut it off. I thought it was pretty bad. It did probably need stitches, but anyways. So today I want to talk a little bit about motivating yourself and doing things for yourself, regardless of what anybody else has to say or anything that they have to tell you you can or cannot do. And by that, I just mean that I got this really random message from somebody that was telling me like, oh, it must be nice to just be able to tell people to do cool stuff and, oh, put your mind to it and you can do it. But it doesn't work like that for everybody, man. It doesn't work like that. When you're, grow up poor, you're, a different race, or you're this or you're that. That you can't do the type of stuff you're talking about, but you wouldn't know that because you're just some little Richie rich pretty boy kid. Well, guess what, guys? I did not grow up Richie rich. I did not grow up with everything handed to me. In fact, I grew up one of the poorest people I even know, honestly. We grew up really poor, and I know what it's like to go through that. And I kind of made a promise to myself at an early age that I wasn't going to allow that to happen again to myself. And that's it, period. I wasn't in control of it when I was little. So there was a few times I can remember, when I was real young that, we were homeless. I remember like living in the car for, I don't know, who knows? I was probably like 6 or something and 5. Not really sure, how it's hard to remember those things when you're about that age, but I remember living in the car and I thought it was cool because we were camping out. And then it was like, can we go home now? I was like, no, we're going to camp a couple more nights in the car. Well, that didn't seem like fun anymore. So it just never really caught up to, being a time where it was like, okay, we had this little hard time and here we go. Now we don't have a hard time and everything's good. And now you're spoiled and here's everything handed to you. It never happened. We always, struggled, and I struggled a lot through, teen years. I struggled a lot through right up until like, the 20s and stuff like that. I actually was homeless myself at, almost 2 times, one time for sure. And I remember that. And that's when I really promised myself and made, I sat there and I made a full effort and a full, conversation with myself. Thought I was going crazy, but said, F it. We're going to have this conversation. And what had happened was I'd worked really hard. Coming out of high school, I didn't have the best, time coming out of high school. I was in some trouble for fighting. I was in some trouble, for just being a pissed off teenager, pretty much. If that's the best way you want to put it. I had worked really hard. I had gotten all the good grades. I was, in all the AP classes I was in. I'd done everything you were supposed to do, and then kind of got messed over with some stuff from my mom, and made it to where I didn't get to get my college stuff that I should have got. And man, I was really not happy with that. I was really mad. So I kind of just, started doing dumb stuff. I was running around. I wasn't into like drugs or anything like that. I never got into that, but I was out there getting in fights. I was out there not, giving an F, basically just out there, doing whatever I wanted. And I got a place on my own, and I was working really hard. I got a job, and that was hard to do because I had this, criminal record from fighting, and nobody wanted to give me a job. And I just kept pushing and pushing. I finally got a job, and I got some money, and I got a place, and I was like, I did it. I'm going to make this happen. I'm good. I have this place. And then everything fell through, and I lost the job because they found out that I was still on a probationary period, which apparently I'd failed to mention. I don't remember if I did that on purpose or not, honestly, but I had failed to mention that, and I lost my place. And, I talked to some of my buddies, and they finally all said, yeah, let's go get an apartment together. And we got this apartment, and I'm like, okay, everything's going to be good. And then I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't get a job. And next thing, here I am trying to figure out what's going on with myself. I have nothing. I don't know what to do. I have like a bag of clothes and like a TV, and I think I had like a Nintendo, and that was it. And I had some money in my pocket. And my couple of friends that I had, they all got to move back in with mommy and daddy when they threw a big party and we lost this next apartment. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I went and I got a storage unit for my stuff. And I had a chair. That's right. I had my blue recliner chair. And I just had a couple of random things. They're not even a full bedroom set or living room set. It's just a couple of random things. So I got one of those little tiny storage units, like a U-Haul storage unit, and I put everything in there. And I had set up, I didn't have anywhere to go that day. So I'd set up the chair and I had some blankets and stuff. And I had set up the TV like on, and it's one of those old TVs. We're not talking about flat screen here. We're talking about, big tubes. I think it was probably like a 35-inch or something like that, but it's big. And put the TV up on this little stool thing that I had, and I ran an extension cord over, because you could run an extension cord and like throw it over the door or whatever so that you could have a light in there or do something. And I turned the TV on, I sat there and I was chilling and I'm playing my Nintendo and I'm just relaxing. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I kind of started losing my shit, if you will, talking to myself about what the hell, here I am again. I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get a job because of my stupid record. I can't get anything. I can't get a place because, I can't get one by myself. I can't afford it. Or I can't, have roommates because they're going to, throw parties and I'm going to lose it. And I got to quit relying on other people and rely on myself. And I got to make this happen. And I ended up just being really quiet in there. And I stayed in that storage unit. I would leave during the day and go out and apply for jobs and stuff. I would go to they had this apartment complex that wasn't too far, and I would take like the Max Train thing down to that, and they had like a little gym and workout center and swimming pool, and they had like the inside, and there was like no key to the gate, so I would just go in there, and in the bathroom part they had like the showers and stuff, so I go take a shower, would get cleaned up, everything like that, fix myself up, I'd go out and just apply for job after job after job after job after job, just anybody, and give me a chance. And I was able to dig myself out of that. Now, after coming up in, a really, really not so good, poor background with being homeless, with not having stuff, sometimes having to go hungry, not knowing where we're at. I mean, I went to so many grade schools and was in so many little towns and cities and stuff when I was young. I really honestly don't remember a whole bunch of my like young childhood or where it was at. I couldn't tell you because we were just all over the place. It was crazy. To be able to have that happen and then kind of seeing the pattern develop as I'm becoming a teenager and coming to that adult side of getting out of high school. And I saw that pattern developing and I went, you know what? I'm not letting it happen to me. And I didn't, and I didn't get anything handed to me. And I didn't get anybody that came along and said, hey, you there, we've been looking for a guy like you. Here, what's your salary you want? We want to give you a really good corporate job in a nice place. And that's one thing that I see a lot of people waiting around. Like, where's my chance? Like, I deserve so much better. I deserve to have the things that that person has. Like, well, what's stopping you? Go out there and get it. If you're just sitting back like this, and I used to tell a friend of mine this all the time, really, really smart guy, really had a lot of potential, kind of had a bad attitude, chip on his shoulder sometimes, but he would always be like, oh, I could do what that guy did. And he was a really smart guy. I mean, him and I used to kill it at Jeopardy or like a trivia night, anything like that. I'd be like, why don't you do something with this? And he just had this chip on his shoulder and he was sitting around like this. One day, somebody's going to come along. They're going to find me, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, that's the guy we've been looking for." And it's like, no, that's never going to happen. That you're just sitting around, and some CEO or some owner of some massive company comes along and goes, "This is the guy we've been looking for right here. Give him $500,000 a year salary. Let him work whatever schedule he wants. Don't worry about his background, his college education. Don't worry about the experience he has. Don't worry about anything. Just go ahead and give him that. That's the guy I want." Honestly, that's never going to happen. You can get it to a point where that happens once you're doing stuff. So kind of the way I started building myself up was I got into one thing and started meeting people and constantly was out all the time. So it's like, why not just go and shake hands with everybody? What's it gonna hurt? If I walked up to you because you looked important or you looked successful. And I walked up and said, hey, how's it going? My name's Josh. I wanted to know, could I borrow 5 minutes of your time? Just wanted to pick your brain on a few things. You look very successful and you look like something I would like to achieve as one of my own goals. Wondering if I could have 5 minutes of your time. That's all I'm asking for. And usually I almost always got a, yeah, no problem, kid. What do you want? And I would sit and talk with them for 5 minutes. Sometimes I had to turn into 30 and go, how do I get a job? I have this record. Okay. And it's nothing bad. I wasn't out there selling drugs. I didn't have guns. I got into a couple of fist fights, we're talking about high school fist fights here. How does that stop me from getting, a job at TJ Maxx? I literally couldn't get a job at a gas station because of the two fights I had on there. What is that? Crazy times was where I was at. They just wouldn't give you a job if you had any type of record. So I would ask them, how do I get a job? And they say, it's not what's on your application, man. Your application is cool and everything. That's great. But honestly, when I hire for my business, and this is what I would get told. When I hire for my business, I take the application and look it over for a couple of things, just real quick. Mostly I go off of what I think about that person during this interview when I'm talking to them, what I think about when I'm meeting them, and maybe, if I'm kind of on the fence about it, I'm going to call some of their personal references, or I'm going to call some of their job references and see what's up there. And that's how I make my decision. It really doesn't matter too much on there. You can talk your way through some of that stuff. And you seem like a guy that can talk. Use it. Don't just go into an interview and sit there and let them ask questions and then you walk out and wait. Like, go in there, go in as if you already have this job and you're interviewing them to see if they deserve for you to hire them. That's what you need to do. And I started doing that, and I started meeting people, and that meeting people started, growing, where it was like, I'd get trade numbers with somebody and, start talking to them and, hey, look, I'm doing really good. Thanks for the advice. Hey, so I'm in this, I got this job doing this catering. I was setting up the lunchtime catering for some law offices and some, dentist office, different office setting things. And it was for a food place, this was way back when I was 19. And, I'm setting up that lunch catering stuff. And so I would start calling those guys that I had gone and met. Some of them were girls, but I didn't really approach the women back then too often with the, hey, trying to meet you. A lot of them thought I was just, oh, this is some young kid trying to hit on me. Cute, bye. So I had a lot of these different gentlemen's phone numbers from, law firms and from, office buildings, insurance, this and this. And so I started calling them. Hey, look, I took your advice. Thank you. Hey, just wanted to really say I'm grateful for the advice you gave me. It really worked. So I'm doing this catering thing now. Wanted to know, what do you guys do for catering for your lunch? Would you be willing to give me a shot, since, your advice is what helped me get this job in the first place? And, I really need to perform for them. That's what I'm supposed to do, is sell these catering gigs. And it's just a lunchtime thing. And that way nobody has to worry about where we order it out today. And, 5 people want to go here and 2 people want to go there. And 1 person, we can do it all. What do you want? It was before there was Uber Eats and all those type of things. There wasn't that stuff then. This was kind of like an early version of that. And so these guys were all like, yeah, man, no problem. Hey, look, I'd be more than willing. Everybody who likes lunch, we usually, on any day of the week. So we'll give you a try. Sure. Put us down for next Monday. And I'd be like, okay. And that started to grow. And then next thing it was, who do you know, Josh, who do you know lawyer wise? Because I saw your car. I saw you over at this thing with a lawyer. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's my lawyer buddy. He does, divorce and this and this. And I would start setting those things up. And then it kind of got to a point where I was able to approach people and go, hey, you guys have helped me through this. I've helped you. We're kind of reciprocating the thing back and forth. Now I have this idea, and I'd like to know what you can help me with. I need an entire business plan drawn up, and I don't have couple $1,000s to sit down and get this drawn up. You're my lawyer buddy, and I've helped you. I brought you new business. I brought you. You think for in return, instead of giving me money or anything, could you just help me, show me? I'm not saying write it up for me, but show me. And so those are kind of the steps I took to just keep growing myself and constantly maintain being able to, if I lose when I was working for other people, if I lost that job for some reason or another, I could get through the rest of the day, wake up the next morning, start picking up the phone and going, hey, so I need a job. What's up? What you wanted to hire me 3 months ago? I'm ready to go now. And I would just do that. If I ever lost a job, or if I ever was done with, I didn't like that job anymore, there was something weird going on, or whatever reason it was, I could pick up the phone and call somebody and go, hey, at one point you wanted to hire me. I'm available now. Would you still like to, talk about that option? And that was how I was able to always keep working and stay in a job and keep myself out of that. And it didn't matter what anybody else said. I had friends of mine that told me, like, what are you doing talking to all these random people? Because we'd be like at the mall or something, and we'd go over to whatever store and be looking at stuff. And then we jump over to the parking lot, be going to get in the car. And there's like, five of us in a little Honda Civic because we're little broke teenage kids. And I'm like 18, 19 then. And I would see like, some successful guy in a suit with getting out of a nice Mercedes or something like that with his Rolex shining. You get out and you put your, they always do that. You always see those guys in the suit with the watch maneuver. That's mostly because when you're wearing that, just like this jacket, the little cuff kind of grabs on this part of your watch. So you kind of got to stretch it out when you get up, there we go. And I would go up and I would talk to him, and my friends would be like, what the hell are you doing, man? I'd be like, I want to know what that guy does. I want to know what he does, because I want to wear a suit like that, and I want to drive a car like that, and I want to have a watch like that one day. So I want to know what he does, because I didn't know what I wanted to do for when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure that out. So moral of the story is I constantly was being told, you don't call people like that and to ask them if they have a job for you. Don't reach out to people that helped you and ask them to buy stuff. Like, if that person helped you get a job there, then why are you reaching out to them to ask them to, purchase something? Well, you know what? That's why they helped me get the job there, was because they know I would get it done. And here I am getting it done. I'm getting it done, even if it's to you. So maybe the reason they helped me get the job is because no one had ever pitched them the product at that place before, and they wanted to buy it from somebody who deserved it. So I constantly kept myself in a mindset that I'm going to do what I want to do, however I want to do it, until it fails. And that's what's going to happen. And you know what? I appreciate your advice and what you have to say. I'll take it in. Cool. That sounds great. But I'm not going to listen to you can't do it that way. Why are you doing this? Why would you pay? Why would you listen to this guy telling you to just go in and interview them? And be like, well, because it worked. I went and did it, and it worked. Like, I went into a job interview and sat down, and they started asking me, the typical interview questions. So why should we hire you? And I was like, well, obviously you should hire me because you have a position available, and I seem to fit the criteria that you're looking for. I have the availability. I have, the age group or the following or whatever it was. I have what's on my application was enough when I turned it in for you guys to feel that I had maybe enough to fill just the basics of what that position entitles. Now, let me ask you, why should I accept the position? Now, that's a harder question. Why is that position available? I was one I would ask a lot too. Hey, I would go into the interview and they'd be asking me why they should hire me. And I would tell them, this is why, because I fit the criteria that you need for that position. Let me ask you, why is this position available? What happened to the person who previously had this position that now it's available? And go in with that. So basically, I broke it down to something simple. You can tell me everything that you want to tell me. I'm probably going to listen, but I'm going to do what I want and what I think is the best way for me. And I think that you should do that too, to a certain extent. I mean, there's learning stuff. You're going to listen to people, but for those majority of people, and the difference between somebody giving you really good advice and somebody who's just telling you, you can't just quit your job and start your own business. Like, who does that? That type of stuff. Like, oh, well, why are you, alarm time. Why are you doing a video every week on Facebook and YouTube and stuff? That's dumb. Okay, well, where's yours? What are you doing? Leave me alone. Let me do what I want to do. That kind of like, negative, reinforced kind of hate stuff in there. Get rid of that. Do it yourself. And you know what? I look at people and go, hey, look, if you don't like my story, write your own book. That simple. That's your weekend inspiration, guys. I will see you on Tech Tuesday for some really fun stuff. We're going to put together something really cool. Again, don't forget to ring the bell, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and check out some of these videos here and some of those right over there. And then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Have a good one.